This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written two powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag, yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Ola. I'm coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. Do me a favor, hit the like button. We have a good show lined up for you today. Today we'll be talking about TUFACE cries out, "My family destroyed me." Hurt Natasha too, just like they did Annie. Yes, so today we'll be spending some time talking about in-law dynamics. Welcome back. Yeah, we have another show today. All right, so just in case you think I'm playing music in the beginning, I think I will not be playing music again in the beginning, at least not for now. Okay, so we're testing some things out. We're always testing different things, so just know this and know peace. So be on time. If you don't want to catch every part of the show, be on time. But please hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live. Today is going to be an interactive session, so you can go ahead and tell me your name, where you're plugging in from already. But today we're going to be talking about, yes, TUFACE, yes, Natasha, Annie, but we're going to use them as anchor to learn some more about in-law dynamics. Okay, I'm going to use that to learn some more about in-law dynamics. What we do here is we extract life and relationship lessons from trendy topics. Okay, that's precisely what we spend our time doing here with the Prestige family. Shout out to all the Prestige family. We teach life and relationship navigation from self-power, social, art of seduction, attraction, emotional intelligence standpoint. Basically, we focus on empowering our audience, not perpetuating victimhood, sometimes with some tough love. Sorry. But the intentions are never to victim shame. Sometimes it can, if you're in your feelings, it might come off that way sometimes, but we mean well. We mean well. So it says, I'm Italy, sorry. Okay, sorry too. All right, so yeah, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications, please. Shout out to all the sponsors. You can support the platform with any one of the stuff on the screen. Is always scrolling through the screen. We do have a framework to our method here. So pardon me, if you've listened for long enough, you will notice that you start to figure some things out, but it takes a while. But you have to start from somewhere, right? So yeah, and also you can download the books. My wife and I have two books you can download for free. They're available at manofprestige.com. Just go to manofprestige.com. So yes, today we're talking about TUFACE. TUFACE has come out with another video, and I'm gonna play that video, and then we'll take you from there. The video should be the first thing. Yeah, that's the first thing I want to play, and then we'll take it from there. Let's see if we can. All right, we do have TUFACE's video, so we're gonna listen in and see what he has to say. As you know, over the past several weeks now, TUFACE has been in the news because I'm going on a year. Okay, it's about to be 1 year since he announced that he's no longer going to be with his wife of 11, 12, 13, I don't know, 11 years, something like that, maybe 12 years. Annie Idibiani Macaulay. Almost right after that, he announced his new lover girl, Natasha Osawaru. And they actually went through some kind of traditional, I don't know, wedding, introduction, something like that. So ever since then, he's been busy trying to, I don't know, prove a point. They do shalaye over and over and over. Explain, because no evidence. Yes, so of course, when you put yourself in a position where you have to do shalaye to strangers who don't really care, people like me, you're probably going to tell on yourself. You're probably going to tell us more than you plan to tell us. Yeah, it's not him being a momo, it's just the way it works, but let's play this video. Let's see what. So Two-Face is doing this. Is like his third video, his second or third video, saying leave me alone and safe, because the general public is speculating. They're speculating. They're thinking he's under a spell, like he's inside the bottle somewhere, that maybe Natasha or somebody has bottled him up somewhere, so he's not thinking with his own brain. So he's still trying to explain to us that he's himself. He's fine, guys. He said it's fine. The last time we covered Two-Face story some few shows ago, we said we did the poll: should we save him or should we leave him alone to his peace of mind? Because he came out and told her that Natasha is his peace of mind. And when a grown man, 50-year-old for that matter, when he tells you that a young lady is his peace of mind, I mean, this is a guy that's been around for. This is our legend. Like, he's African queen, Kuna legend. Like, he knows what he's doing, right? But it looks like the general public does not want to believe him. So I'm gonna play this video. This is the last video that I can find where he's saying leave me alone. But this time around he's talking to his family. Let's listen in.
Good evening. This whole thing has gotten dangerously out of hand. I'm not. I'm not just gonna be quiet. And I feel I have to say some facts here. I'm a grown man, and I believe I have the right to be with whoever I want to be. You understand? My family has, in trying to say they want to save me or say they want to help me, they have actually destroyed me, and they have killed somebody's daughter's character. Like they've just literally killed somebody. Because Natasha is getting death threats right now. Fine, we've had our quarrel. Please tell me who doesn't have their spouse, who doesn't have a quarrel every once in a while. Please. But this has gotten out of hand. I'm perfectly okay. I'm good. Everybody has been seeing me out there. Anybody that has eyes to see, they've seen me out there. I did my show recently in Abuja. A whole lot of people were there. How can you say you say you're trying to save somebody, you're trying to, and then you're messing my life up? This is unacceptable by me. I'm not gonna take this lightly anymore. It's my own family, my brothers. Sorry to say, but this is not right anyway. Natasha is getting death threats. This is so unfair. It's not nice. I have the right to be with whoever I want to be with. I'm not going to anybody's house to interfere in their marriages. I'm not a child. I've always been a quite peaceful person, like, but just see what this is getting to me too much now. It has become too much. My family did this. They did this with Annie. The same thing. We all have our differences. We all have stuff that happens. But this is beyond. This has become so dangerous right now. It has become so dangerous. It's not funny anymore. It's not funny anymore. I'm totally devastated. Tasha is getting death threats. She like they've ruined her whole life. You don't do stuff like this. You don't do things like this. In the name of saying you are trying to save me, you're destroying me, you're destroying another person's life. I don't know if my own people don't understand the damage that they're doing. My own family. I have the right. I have the right to be with who I want to be with. You don't do this. You don't do stuff like this. This has gone beyond. This has dangerous. This has. Oh God.
All right, so that's what Two Face has had to say to his family. I'm looking at the caption on this video. The caption says, "This is pure trauma bonding. When someone starts speaking in favor of a consistent abuser, they are in great danger. Baba needs ajuda, my rapido possible." I don't know what that is. All right, so now, is it trauma bonding? Yes, it could be, but you know, we're not going to worry too much about that because we're not going to psychoanalyze him across the screens. What we're going to do is we're going to extract lessons out of this. That's what we're going to do as usual. That's what we're going to do. We're going to extract some real lessons out of this. Some of you are going to struggle with this kind of situation in your real life. It might not look like drug. It might not look like you might not be a superstar, a celebrity. You might not even be anybody in your own town, but you're somebody in your own family, and you matter, and you do have influence over the people around you, and they have influence over your behavior, and they are going to hurt your feelings. You're going to hurt their feelings, and sometimes by extension, it's going to tamper with in-law relations. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today. Okay, I promise we're going to talk about that. But just to be fair to Two Face, since we're covering him, he was out there, I think, in the last 24 hours performing for the end of the year, Christmas, the big events that they have going on in Nigeria right now with I think it's the First Bank end of the year parties. So he's out there performing. So kudos to him. The best thing you can do for yourself when you're going through this kind of crisis is keep working. Okay, keep working. Never lose sight of your purpose and your livelihood. So I needed to say that. But yes, so my family destroyed me, hurt Natasha too, just like they did Annie. So now I'm going to dissect what he said word for word. And then we have some scenario based um, questions that I'm going to ask you for every one of you that will watch this video that I want you to really ponder on. I'll give you opportunity to answer, then I'll give you some answers, and then we're gonna make it fun. Okay, we're gonna make it fun, and then I'm still gonna try to finish on time. Okay, but today is really, really about in-law relations. So let's listen into what he's saying, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. Let's see.
Good evening. This whole thing has gotten dangerously out of hand. I'm not. I'm not just gonna be quiet anymore.
Okay, so Two Face said this whole thing is getting out of hand, and it's not just going to be quiet anymore. Okay. He said this whole thing is getting out of hand. It's not going to be quiet anymore. He's been quiet for too long. Well, we thought it was being humble, just a humble, quiet guy, easygoing guy, and we didn't think that his life was devoid of drama. I think a lot of people actually have speculations around his relationship, his marriage with Annie. But now he's telling us that he wants to speak up. But that's interesting because he had never felt the need to speak up, even though people knew that his marriage was not perfect. Well, not because of him in particular, but nobody's marriage is perfect, right? He's actually going to speak to that effect in a second. Let's keep going.
I feel I have to say some
He
facts.
feels he has to say something. Keep in mind, this is the second video in a row where he felt the need to say something. There's the first one where it was outside. I don't have that video right now, where it was outside and he says something. But why does he feel the need to say something? Could it be because of this video? I want to play this video. Apparently, the family has filed a lawsuit against his new love, his new wife, or I don't know what you want to call him, but they're not legally married, but they look like they did something customary here, and they just had a baby not too long ago. So he's saying that his family did something. What is it that they did? Could it be this lawsuit? Let's listen to this real quick. Well, not this one, but I'll play the lawsuit in a second. Let me see. Let's see here.
They can't be married because I don't think Baba is divorced from Annie fully. I don't think he is. To my own knowledge, I know how traditional marriages go. I don't know if any dowry was paid, and the family will have to answer that, But I can actually, from my own point of view, I see that more as an introduction. Because let us tell ourselves the truth. We all know the law. They can't get married. It's bigamy. And this was something we even advised that we're like, okay, Baba is already processing his divorce. Let him go through with it. Then you get married. I'm trying to put this mildly as possible. I don't think Baba even knows that she's still married. And she's not divorced.
You are saying that Natasha is married?
Allegedly.
This action has given.
All right. So shout out to the African Glitz. I got this clip from them. So he's saying allegedly that she might still be married, right? Okay. But before we go further here, this is the lawsuit here.
We have all seen the devastating images.
So apparently there might be a lawsuit, well, not lawsuit, but a petition, right? So let's listen. As you know, the mother came out not too long ago, well, during the whole course, and she said, please remove the beads from around his neck and around his, I don't know, something. But the mother was crying out. But eventually, when they were doing this event, the mother was there. I think that's her picture back there. The mother was there. But shortly after that, the family they're still talking, and that's what TUFACE is talking about. So he's asking his family to leave him and his girl alone, okay? Even though he eloped. I don't know if I can use the word elope with a 50-year-old man. We know there's issues there somewhere, but we can't really pinpoint it. But we have to work with the information that we have. And again, many of you are going to get with people that your family don't necessarily know, but they're going to try to or attempt to protect you from that person, and you don't necessarily know what to do. So today, we're going to look at a few different scenarios to see what's the best way to navigate this kind of stuff. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. All right, sorry about this. All right.
As Miss Natasha Irobosa Osawaru, demanding that the IGP investigate 6 allegations against her. The first matter is to investigate the alleged physical assault incidents, stripped Natasha of the Idibia socket, escalated the matter by petitioning the Inspector General of Police, IGP.
The family escalated the matter, right?
Saying they were putting his new wife at risk. But his family are not taking this advice. Instead, they have escalated the matter by petitioning the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun. In the petition dated November 12, 2025, the Idibia family, led by the family matriarch Rose Idibia, first stripped Natasha of the Idibia surname by addressing her as Miss Natasha Irobosa Osawaru, demanding that the IGP investigate 6 allegations against her. The first matter is to investigate the alleged physical assault incidents in both the United Kingdom and Abuja meted out by Natasha Osawaru against Tubaba. Tubaba's family further accused Natasha of having unauthorized access and transferring funds from the singer's phone and bank accounts. Tubaba's family claims that Natasha seized some of Tubaba's personal property and travel documents, including his passport, which prevents him from attending business engagements and performances. The Idibia family further claimed Natasha's actions have caused financial loss, reputational damage, and professional setbacks for Tubaba. In addition to these petitions, the singer's family wants the IGP to investigate substance abuse by Natasha Osawaru, which causes her to erupt in violent behavior that causes emotional distress and financial loss to Tubaba. Finally, the family of the Afrobeat star wants the IGP to investigate a possible violation of marriage laws, bigamy. The singer's family emphasized that time is not on their side because Tubaba's personal safety and mental well-being are at huge risk. This petition has once again sparked reactions that Tubaba's family treats him like a child. Moreover, fans think his family are more concerned about his money than his well-being. As the superstar that he is, Tubaba may have been the breadwinner of his family. But going by reports that Natasha is the one controlling Tubaba's bank account and money now, it is plausible that the singer's family have stopped benefiting financially from the singer, prompting the petition. Popular gossip account on Instagram, Cutie Jules, claims that Natasha has been using Tubaba's phone to beg for money from friends and industry people, which has many thinking that Natasha has been the one spending.
So again, so the family has filed a petition against his wife. So now, as far as they're concerned, they are trying to protect or save Tubaba, right? So, but is that proper? You know, that something is not right about that. But maybe it's not about right or wrong. Maybe it's just not wise. You know, as you know, I try to focus on what is the long-term implication of this type of behavior, right? Particularly from the in-laws, from your family, your own family. Your own family is like the definition, is the your own family is the definition of good intentions straight in the poto. Yeah, your own family can mean well and it can literally destroy your chances at happiness. And the funny thing about that is that you might even argue against that right now because, again, in the short term, it seems like, no, how can your family hurt you? Your family first, right? We see a lot of men, especially African men, will say they will try to pick between their wife and their mother, but it's not really a matter of picking between your wife and your mother. It's about what moves do you make right now that will create short-term repercussion negatively for you or long-term repercussion for you negatively. That's really what we need to be paying attention to. I'm asking for foresight, like the behavior, your moves right now, or whatever is going on right now. Do you know what the effect is going to be? Like 10 years from now? Right? You don't know, right? So it takes a special type of wisdom to really dig into that and say, hey, this thing looks good right now. It looks like somebody's protecting me, but what is it? What about everything else? What about the rest of your lives? You know? So I'm not going to take sides with Tubaba here exactly. That's not what this is going to be about. But I want us to dig in a little bit deeper into in-law dynamics and in-law relationship dynamics and how it is not always an easy decision. It's not always a right and wrong thing. It's not always like straightforward, oh, my family loves me and that's that. It's not that simple. Usually when you're saying that, your kids may be less than 3 years old, you know. But once your kids start to get older and you start to spend a lot of time with this person that you're married to, maybe you will see it a little bit more stronger that they're not just your spouse. This is a person that's going to be a part of the rest of your life. Yes, even if they're now an ex. Yeah, I know. Many of you think you can get away with it. Hey, Mario, good to see you, Mario. You know, Not many of things you can get away with. Oh, this, no, but divorce doesn't end it if you have kids with that person. So yes, the westernization might give you the option of filing a paperwork that says you no longer have to have sex with this person anymore, but it doesn't end your responsibility when it comes to that relationship. You know, so it's very, very important what we're about to cover here today. So again, Two-Face is talking and he's still trying to defend this girl. Is that the right move? Should you jump out there and start defending your spouse? Is it really that simple? Is that what I'm asking you to do? No, that's not what I'm asking you to do. It's not that simple, actually. Okay, it's not as simple as jumping out there and saying, hey, don't talk to my wife like that. Hey, my mother, you're not allowed to talk to my wife like that. No, it is not that simple. Because if you do something like that, you will essentially, if your wife is anybody who have any sense, you're putting her on the spot. You're basically embarrassing her. Give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. Sorry about that. All right. So, so like I was saying, is it that simple? No, it's not that simple. And this is going to come from a blind spot when it does happen. It's not going to be as simple as a mad monster in-law. You're like your mother-in-law is just a crazy person. That's the easy part, actually. If your mother-in-law is crazy, that's easy. We have obviously strategies to help you with that. You know, there are strategies to help you with that. You know, you can easily avoid that. There's a couple of things, quick go-tos to help you mitigate that. But the worst ones are the ones that are not that crazy, but yet you're still gonna have to deal with some very funny, interesting dynamics with your in-law. And it doesn't matter what side it's gonna be on. It might be father-in-law, it might be mother-in-law. For the most part, you're probably dealing with a mother-in-law or sibling in-laws that will be in your business. You know, so yeah, so let's talk about this real quick. So did Two-Face do the right thing by going out there to defend this lady? Is it that simple? You might even have your woman will tell you, yes, you don't defend me, you should defend me against your family, but it's not that simple. Okay, you must apply lots of wisdom when it comes down to this, because she might even resent you that you're not moving fast enough to defend her. She might say, hey, she doesn't feel safe and you're not doing anything about it. You know, the responsibility is still yours. Okay, the responsibility, what do I mean by yours? Man, no, not necessarily man. I'm saying if that's your side of the family, the responsibility is yours. You're the enforcer, right? It is okay for a spouse to defend themselves one time. Okay, like, hey, no, we don't do it that way. Okay, but in terms of whatever boundaries you set, the enforcer is best to be the person who on the side. But again, it's not that simple. So today we're going to look at different dynamics on how this plays out in real life, and then we'll take it from there. But before we get into that, I wanted to share some very some basic fundamentals with you when it comes down to this. Okay, keep in mind that anytime you have two or more people, it becomes a community, and now you have to manage multiple layers of emotions. Right? If it's just you and you live in a cave, you never have to worry about it. Just live in a cave. You don't have to marry, you don't have to have children, none of that. But once you have another human being that you are interacting with, because you care about them or they care about you, or because there's some kind of value that you're exchanging, then you have human emotions to manage. Okay. Now there is a cost. There's a cost. What is the cost of poor in-law boundaries to a marriage? Feel free to leave that in the chat for me on the comment. But what is the cost, in your opinion? If you've experienced it before, please share your experience. Now, if you haven't, right, what can you imagine that there is a cost to poor in-law boundaries? Now, you need to understand what boundaries are, because some people, they mistake low tolerance for boundaries. I'm talking about actual boundaries. So let's make sure we're defining boundaries properly. But there's something called the golden triangle, right? It's essentially, it's nothing, it's not a physical thing, it's more of a psychological thing. Like it's something that has to do with your emotional space, right? So you don't have to be physically present. So if you decide you don't want to go to the village to go and see mama and papa again, it doesn't stop the golden triangle. So it's a psychological and emotional space thing, and it's created when two people get married. Okay, yes, even if it's not legal. I'm not worried about the paperwork, the legality. I'm talking about people actually doing life together, right? When two people marry, that new boundary literally contains a husband, a wife, and there's an actual union. Okay, that union is an entity on its own that has its own that you have to protect the sanctity of it, right? So, and if you don't see it that way, you're probably going to struggle. That's when it becomes arguments like, oh, should you put your husband first or should you put your children first? Those kind of stupid questions only come around when you don't identify or acknowledge that there's actually an entity besides the persons, right? And we call it the union, right? So, and the goal of marriage or this particular union obviously is to build something greater than life, right? I mean, if you can't comprehend that, just start thinking about you might create life. You might say, well, what about if we don't want children? It's the same thing. Okay, you're bringing exception into it that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Okay, how do I know? Even the state recognize what I'm saying. It's bigger than just you, and it's not as simple as just common sense. Okay, that's why you don't want to start doing life with people and you don't do proper ceremonies. Okay, the ceremonies makes it official, but just because you didn't make it official doesn't make it to not have a stronghold over your life. Okay, it just means you plan to fail. That's all. Right? So just because you didn't go to courthouse or at least call a witness to actually put your hands on some kind of scripture and say, hey, we're doing this for life, and create a small ceremony, even if there's no food, does not mean it's not official. Okay, it just means you plan to fail. That's all it means. Just because you eloped to Vegas and get married in the middle of the street and you're just going to do you doesn't mean, it just means you plan to fail. Okay, the reason why I always recommend that people do the right thing, and do the right thing by yourself, by your spouse, and also by your family, right? It's self-respect thing, right? And if you don't have self-respect to even honor the people or your source, eventually when crisis hits, the first thing they will do is disrespect that you came from nowhere. You fell out of the skies, so they respect you and everywhere your source as much as you respect it. It's as simple as that. And the reason why we want those kind of things is because life crisis will hit, and those kind of things will sustain you, will help you to mitigate some of the dangers in such calamities. Yes, calamity, like big deal. Yes, it is. And if you haven't seen it yet, I pray you won't see it. Okay. So have you taken the time to actually establish the triangle? Does it have the proper boundaries? If it doesn't, then I'm not surprised if your sibling, your mother, your father think they can just come in. Because even when you do the right thing, they still come in and they are disrespectful sometimes. But how much more when you don't do the right thing? Okay. So the moment in marriage becomes that marriage thing to you, right? What was the conversation we're covering? Yes, okay, was the candy and tart thing. They were like, this marriage thing, it's a mindset thing. If you start to look at it that way, then everybody around you will also look at it that way. Okay. So the moment of marriage It's a moment of differentiation from the family of origin. You know that leaf to cliff thing? It's not just a Christian thing. It's the reality of what you're doing, and you just want to make sure you do it properly. If you don't do it properly, again, in-laws will even more so have that much influence, negative influence over whatever you're cooking. Okay, so it's very important to do things properly. There's also power dynamics in this equation, and you want to make sure that you form it properly, because the biggest threat, okay, the biggest threat to a marriage is actually an adult child who is still seeking approval from its source. What do I mean by its source? Especially if he's a man, right? He's still seeking approval from his family of origin over their spouse. So in this case, we're looking at the extreme other end where it looks like Two-Face has been bottled up. But even at that, that's what life is. You know, not every time when you marry, right? Not everybody's going to be happy about the dynamics you choose to create with your family. What do I mean by your family? Not your source family, the one you created, the family you created. Everybody's not going to be happy about everything. But it's not just the in-law thing. It's everything in life. You can't make everybody happy in life. Sometimes you just have to stand on your 2 feet and say, this is my decision how I do things. You know what happens? Inevitably, people respect that after a while. They just respect it, you know, because they have their own problems they have to deal with in life. Now, in terms of the responsibility here, whose responsibility is to maintain the boundaries that you create when you create this family with a person? Is it the husband? Is it the wife? Or should this be some kind of united front? Right? So ultimately, the couple is responsible for defining and enforcing the boundary together. But as I always say here, sometimes there's one side that's weaker than the other, right? So there's something we call strength and weaknesses, and we have to factor that in, because either you like it or not, somebody is going to be good at one thing than the other. That's just life, right? As in life, no balance, right? So now taking the time to understand where everybody's strength is, and then applying grace where it matters, it goes a long way for you. You as an individual, you get to benefit from that with time. So in this case of an in-law dynamics of a thing, who is the more confrontational one? I know it sounds crazy. Like, who is the rude one, right? To take, don't let me abandon the chat. Shout out to Samuel. Sorry, Samuel. I'm just saying that. Sorry. Why did he mention Annie? He mentioned Annie because he's saying that his family destroyed his relationship with Annie too. Okay. Hold on one second, guys. All right. Sorry about the interruption today. I'm getting interrupted quite a bit. I'm a child of poor in-law boundaries, never ending power tussle, even the next generation. Oh wow, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's inevitable. Okay, it's about what do you do with it. Do you have the skills to handle it when it happens? And most people simply don't. All right, so now back to what I'm saying here. For some reason, I'm getting interrupted today. I don't know why. So whose responsibility is it, right? Whose responsibility is it? Again, it sounds nice when you say united front. Everybody is on the united front. Everybody agrees, right? But the reality is that the primary enforcer is going to have to be the spouse of origin. Okay, it should be an understanding at least. Okay, it should be an understanding. So even if you have a situation where somebody, because we have sometimes the woman is not capable of confronting her own mother, she still has fear. Maybe she was whipped big time as a child, and she still has fear of this woman, and she can't face the woman. An example would be Candy. Like if you go and look at the story I covered about Candy 2 or 3 shows ago, right? If you watch their show, she really couldn't, as confrontational as she could be with anybody else, she had a hard time confronting her mother. And that's a deeply rooted issue. That you might end up with a woman like that who cannot tell their mother, like, Mom, this is how we like to do things. And before you know it, it actually starts to tamper. And that particular gentleman had to deal with that woman from the beginning. He was called names, he was disrespected, it was And as small as that might sound, or that may sound, it can actually affect the dynamics of the relationship over a period of time. Because again, we see boundaries being crossed. So it is the responsibility of the spouse of origin, what you might call the blood connection, to really enforce. But enforcing is not, when we say enforce again, it doesn't mean you have to be rude. Okay, it doesn't always mean you have to be rude, but there's a particular wisdom to it, right? First of all, who are you addressing? Who are you talking to? How do they tend to respond? What else could happen after you've said what you have to say, right? It can get very, very dicey and very, very disrespectful. Okay, very quickly. So the non-blood spouse is usually seen as the outsider and the aggressor. Don't ask me why. It's just so, especially if you're still getting to know each other as a family, right? You'll be seen as the outsider aggressor. And if you have a very, very rude sibling in law, they will never see you as part of that. Okay. And they will continue to make moves that will gaslight you, that will make you feel some type of way, that potentially can create conflict between you and your spouse, your husband or your wife. All right. So you really need their sibling, their sister, their brother, your partner, your wife, your husband on your side on this. You need to have an agreement on this. If you don't have that, yes, it can potentially destroy your marriage. Okay. And it's a very slow, poisonous thing. It's not something that will be so aggressive that you can blame them. You can try to blame them, but again, it will only backfire even more if you don't apply wisdom. So sometimes you have to apply pressure, but you have to apply pressure with wisdom. But it doesn't look like pressure if your spouse is on your side. So now you have one single very important work as usual: unity between you and your partner. Okay, if you can figure that out, then you're going to be all right. Inevitably, things will still happen. In-laws are mad people. I know. I'm sorry. They're good people. They gave you your spouse. They gave you your wife and your children. No, respectfully. As in, like, they will cross lines. At least one or two of them will cross certain lines. And even they might be correcting themselves, but somebody is just going to, yeah, it comes with the territory, you know. So in terms of certain statements, certain decisions, you want to be able to say things like "my wife and I," "my husband and I." You know, you want to do that, and there might be one person who feels the need to shame you and say, "Why is it always like? Are you like their slave or something?" I mean, that's my brother, that's my sister. You might see things, attitude issues like that, but really, you don't ever need to repeat yourself. If you feel you need to repeat yourself, it usually means that form of communication is not working and you might be breaking your own boundaries before you know it. All you need to be is be clear and not necessarily aggressive. Okay, you want to be clear, get what you need to get out, be concise. The aggressive thing is probably more about your own rude behavior and not about what you need to say. So let's make sure we're checking that. I'm just a straightforward person. I will never accept nonsense. You're just a rude person. Let me be clear about that one right now. Okay. The supporting role is the non-blood spouse. So if we go back to the TUFACE example, right? The non-blood spouse will be Natasha in this case. Up to more than a year ago would have been Annie, right? But the blood connection, TUFACE himself, they need to know what they're doing. They need to come from a place of skills, emotional intelligence, right? If they don't have that, you will struggle because they might even say they are unified with you and they want to do, but they might actually end up resenting it and come back and say, "You made me do this." And then it becomes another problem, right? So, but Natasha would be a person that would need to focus on being a supporting spouse. Supporting spouse need to be understanding. They need to understand the full dynamics. They need to understand, first of all, that you did not fall out of the skies. You came from a source. The first 18, somehow 19, 20, 25 years of your life came from these people. And maybe up to about 20 years ago, people can literally, they could get away with, let's just brush issues under the rug. Let's just not worry about it. They can get away with that. But today, no, we need all hands on deck when it comes to emotional intelligence, because if you don't, divorce is looming around the corner. Okay. Well, how do I know? I mean, just look at the numbers. Okay. It's very easy. You get dumped in a heartbeat, just like that, even if you're the one who is right, especially if you're the one who is right. So the supporting role is the non-blood spouse. The role is to clearly articulate, okay, most likely you're the one that have been hurt, express what you have to say to your spouse and step back and allow the spouse of origin to do the dirty work. It's not exactly dirty work. They have the leverage, okay? They have the leverage to say, this is what my wife and I decided to do. And they don't need to say that more than 3 times. If they have to say that more than 3 times, that means they're seeking validation, approval. It will probably come back and bite you in the butt. They will say it was your fault. So there needs to be clear understanding here. This clear understanding is best when both of you subscribe to the same belief system. Remember the union, the third entity. Some of you call it God, right? When you both yield to the same order of, how you move, it makes it easier because you can always yield to that, even when the other person is like, remember, this is what we agreed. Remember, this is what this is about, this long-term goal, objective, right? Long-term vision that we have for our family. It's not just about my feelings, because that's why you have to take your time before have a conversation around this kind of stuff. Okay. Now, the role of self and emotional intelligence is key in all of this. Okay. Like I said, over here, we do empowerment. You might just be a victim, but now instead of you saying, I'm the victim, go and talk to your mother. It's not about that. Calm down. Okay. Calm down. Because again, remember, that's his mother or that's her mother, right? So you want to be, as much as possible, be respectful, because even when you're being respectful, sometimes it will still come off as you're not being respectful. So lots of wisdom, lots of patience, being clear, not aggressive, right? Check your feelings. Of course, we're all operating from a place of feelings. As a matter of fact, the value you're going to get out of that is coming from a place of feelings. But don't focus too much on their behavior. Okay. Don't focus too much on the behavior of the in-law. Make it about the objective, the joint objective that you have with your spouse. Now, the social intelligence in this, because if you want to live in a cave and just completely ignore your extended family, that one can backfire. In fact, most likely that's going to backfire, because at one point later on, your spouse is going to feel, sometimes, I know it's crazy, they're going to feel like you're the enemy and they want to run away from you. Guess who they want to run fast to? Their family, of course, right? So now, if somehow you've had some conversation in the past and they've now completely ignored their family, they will hate you for it. They will hate you and they will feel like, okay, you isolated them. Manipulative people, one of their tactics is to isolate people from their loved ones. So it's a very easy, quick go-to accusation that people make to their spouses. Like, you isolated me, you're manipulative. So it's a very, very dicey thing. Okay. So in-laws, they don't have the capacity to destroy your marriage. You do. Okay. All you need is at least one of you to destroy your marriage. No matter how bad the in-laws, I know Yoruba people say, I know Yoruba people say that. I know what they mean by that. You have to keep that in context. But you actually have to allow them. Okay? You have to allow them. All you need is at least one person to allow them. And yes, they are capable, but it's not really them. It's you that allowed them to destroy your marriage. All right. So now I want to go back to the TUFACE situation a little bit. TUFACE has failed in terms of his own family, right? This is how it works. Your family is your family. If you look like you can't handle business by yourself, they are going to attempt to help you. It's just the way it is. Okay. And guess what? Yes, I'm telling you right now, hey Natu, I'm telling you right now, they're coming from a place of good intentions. I promise you, they mean well. At least you can't convince them that they don't mean well. Okay, so you could just argue with your destiny. You go explain. You go explain. At least they can't convince them that they don't mean well for their brother, for their sister. It's like trying to tell two-faced brother now that it doesn't, or even those of you that are online in-laws, you swear up and down that you care about Two-Face more than Natasha. And you can justify it because you heard, quote unquote, you heard that slap on Daddy Freeze's platform. You heard that she slapped, even though you didn't see it, but you heard it because you're an online in-law. And no one is going to tell you otherwise, that you heard what you heard, that she's manipulative, right? So in your heart of hearts, you want to protect this grown-ass 50-year-old man from himself, right? But the reality is what we've known before there was Natasha. Annie also had issues with the in-laws. In fact, one of the outbursts that she had on audio, I don't have the audio right now, was her words against her in-laws. She said she felt like they've never liked her. If I had a coin, 1 cent for every time I hear they never liked me, I will be a millionaire right now by now. But I have to tell you, it's because you failed in that marriage, which is okay. It doesn't have to be permanent. That's why it's okay. It's because you failed in having a united front. It's because you failed at facilitating unity between you and your spouse. It's a very difficult thing to do because you're almost asking them to pick you over their family. So it sounds counterintuitive, right? It sounds like, no, that doesn't make any sense. You might hear things like, those of them that have enough in them to offer you, they're like, don't make me choose between me and your family. Like, because that's not going to happen, right? But it's not about choosing. It's about tough decisions in life. It's about prioritization in life. Sometimes you have to prioritize. You have two good things you need to do. But in order to get ahead, you have to prioritize one over the other. And sometimes you have to have the foresight to know which one to prioritize. And that's not always an easy thing to do when we're talking about family, in-law dynamics, relationships. That's not always an easy thing to do because you feel some type of way. You feel how you feel. And you almost feel like, sometimes it feels like you're incentivizing bad behavior. You feel like your spouse actually have not behaved properly. So you didn't mean to, but you kind of want to punish them for misbehaving. Why didn't you come to me first? That kind of stuff, right? Or you just can't forget when you used to sleep in the same bedroom, waking up with your siblings, and you know that they love you, that they mean no harm. Just because they mean no harm does not mean they cannot hurt you. Who is the common denominator between this relationship we're looking at on the screen? Two-Face is. At least two faces, right? In addition to the fact that he's the man, right? So again, as in-laws, naturally we feel, let's just call ourselves in-laws for the sake of these lessons, right? We feel like we want to protect our own legend, our brother. We want to protect him from the one he loves. In fact, we will go to the extent of filing a petition against the one he loves. Just think about that for a second. Why? Because we know that they have done something to him. They've bottled him somewhere away. And we want to save him before they buy him. Right? And unfortunately, you don't have the same way you have no power before, unless they allow you, you still have no power as an in-law. Because as weird as it sounds, there's a united front. Let's call it manipulation. She's managed to manipulate him to be united with her. right? So you're gonna have to break that unity first. That's how powerful it is when you get on the same page with your spouse. They're gonna have to break that kind of unity first. But what if your spouse don't agree? Then you have one little step before you get to that unity part. You need to facilitate unity between you and your spouse. And that's a whole skill set on its own. Yes. Part of that is seduction on its own. You did it before, you can do it again. Because if you manage to get them to marry you or to choose to marry you, that means you have that kind of power. But when see finish enter, you don't remember that. Or you didn't do it from a place of skill in the beginning, right? Because you didn't really know each other. It was flowing. So it was just people in love. But now you need skills. Yeah, so you need to do that step first. Once you get them on the same page with you, then it's easier to put forward that united front. And let me tell you something, they will enjoy you both together more over a period of time than enjoying just one side, right? Especially if we're talking about a mother-in-law. The only thing, let me just talk about the normal ones, okay? Because the normal ones are also culprits. I don't care how perfect you think you are, how intentional you think you are. If you have sons, you're going to be a problem. I know you don't want to hear that. I know.
I never expected it.
Yeah, you're going to be a problem. It's a territorial thing, you know. The more you don't want to be that, the more you show up as that. It's a very weird thing, you know, and yeah, you need a little bit more. You need to allow it to pan out and then focus on how you respond when it happens. If you try to make it not happen, it gets worse. Then you're being manipulative. But when it does happen, you know when people say, who does he think he is? He thinks his shit doesn't stink. You know that thing? Like, you didn't offend them, or you didn't do anything to them. You're just being you. But somehow, because you have a relationship of some sort with them, they can now look at you and say, you know, who does he think he is? Like, your own shit don't stink too, right? Now, when that comes to you, how do you react? That's the real test. That's the real test. My point is that inevitably, when you're interacting with other human beings, they will bring the bullshit. It's how you respond that's when you get to demonstrate the skills, or that's when your true colors actually comes out too. Now, when everything is all good and you're all intentional, you can see it coming here. Right? Just know that when you're dealing with other human beings, there will be problems. Okay, and just focus on active listening, stay cool, calm, collected, and don't feel the need to respond or have answers to everything. And then before you know it, these two shall pass. Once they know that you're not easily, you don't crack under pressure like that, then they kind of center back to what it's supposed to be, right? They kind of accord you the respect that you deserve because you now earned it, as opposed to the one they just dash you because you were just perfect in the beginning. The more perfect you are in the beginning, the more they will resent you when they're ready to bring the bullshit. Anyway, so that's that. So now, so I think TUFACE failed. TUFACE, like many men, are failed. Sometimes they jump ahead and say, don't talk to some of them will go to one extreme or the other. Mother, don't talk to my wife like that. You're not allowed to. That doesn't work either. You will embarrass your wife if you do that. Okay? Or you just say, but she's mommy. Let her be mommy. That also doesn't work. Right? I don't know which one of it is worse, but they're both the two extremes that doesn't really work. That doesn't really work, rather. But what works? Right? What works? So what I want us to do is I want us to go through some exercises here. Let me see. I want to see if I can post this stuff. So we're going to do some, I want to test out some scenario-based example questions, you know. Yeah, not questions, but, you know, kind of like questions, scenario-based questions type, you know, that we can all work together and then come up with answers. So the first one, I'm going to put the first one on the screen. Yeah. So if we, let's use this first example. I posted in the chat. I'll pull it to the screen. All right, good. All right, so let's look at this first one together. Before we look at this first one, let me pay some bills and we'll be right back.
This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag, yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.
All right, welcome back. We're talking about TUFACE, Anidibia, in-law dynamics, in-law relationships. All right, so the first one says your mother calls you, not your spouse, asking for a substantial loan, which you can afford, to cover a sibling's sudden tuition fee. She says, don't tell your wife. She always says no. How do you respond? Now, for you ladies, what do you think would be the best response here? Right? You can flip it on any end. You can think of it as, what would you advise a man? Or what would you do if you flip it to your mother calls you, not your spouse, asking for a substantial loan which you can afford to cover a sibling's sudden tuition fee. She says, don't tell your husband. She always says no. How do you respond? All right, so Mario says, tell your spouse. Is that your final answer? I'm going to give you guys, yes, tell your spouse. Is that your final answer? Yes. So, A, quietly send the money and tell your wife later, or tell your husband later. B, tell your mother, let me discuss this with my wife first, or let me discuss this with my husband first, and we'll call you back together. C, send the money, but tell your wife immediately, or tell your husband immediately, and frame it as your decision. D, tell your mother firmly, I don't keep secrets from my partner. We handle our finances together. A, B, C, or D. What would you say? Did that change your answer? Or the answer you gave here says tell your spouse. Let me see, which one is it? I think it's one of different two. Quietly send the money and tell your spouse later. Or that's A. The C one says send the money or tell your spouse immediately and frame it as your decision. Frame it as your decision. The first one says quietly send the money and tell your spouse later. So which one of A and C are you saying, Marriott? Which one of A and C are you saying? Let's see. Send the money. C. You said C. Send the money, but tell your spouse immediately and frame it as your decision. Yeah, I probably will go with C too. Now the C one is probably the A one is probably more what people might suspect. Say, I don't like the shalaye in the future. I like that. Many people might suspect the overly westernized, overly woke people might say, they might even go with the D option here, which says, tell your mother firmly, I don't keep secrets with my spouse. We handle our finances. That's the overly woke answer. Okay, you're going to embarrass your spouse last. Okay, with that type of attitude. The attitude carries a lot more weight than whatever you're trying to accomplish there. So you must apply emotional intelligence, right? So the goal here is the objective is to help if you can help, but also you want to maintain the emotional dynamics. You want it to be healthy, and you don't want them to look at your spouse some type of way. If I go with A, which is quietly send the money and tell your wife later, that's fine too. They quietly dismiss this quietly. Just send the money if you can afford it and tell your wife later on. Now, if the money is coming from a joint pocket, obviously you want to tell your wife. You want to be If you know that's going to create trouble for you in the house, then the wise thing to do is tell your wife or your spouse, right? But the key is, if you can send the money, send the money. But I think you should have some separate money that you would send for stuff like that, just in case it's an ongoing thing that happen all the time. And the reality is that your spouse can start to see your family some type of way if it's lemon like all the time. And you might be like, but your spouse shouldn't see that way. Shouldn't are fantasies. Okay, let's deal with the reality. The reality is that they can. If you happen to be married to a person like that, handling that with emotional intelligence becomes your responsibility for your own good, right? So separate some money, arrange your finances in a way where you have some money where you can say, this is charity, I'll give this. Or make sure also that you have a good relationship with your wife. Like, Mama said I should send some, I send some. It's not a big deal. Something you would send. After all, as a human being, you should have a partner that you rub minds off of them from time to time, because your sole decision is not always the best thing. Like, you might even say, what do you think? Your wife might even say, send more. That's too small. That's the kind of relationship you should have with your spouse anyway. But in case you're in a situation that's not so rosy, have some separate money that you can send like that, but make sure the idea is to maintain peace across the board. All right, nice one, Marriott. Let's go to the next one here. We have another one. All right. She said, I don't like shalaye in the future. And me too. I don't like the shalaye, but don't avoid shalaye to the point where you create problem in the future. It's about short and long-term foresight, so that and just maintain balance. But yes, I agree with you 100% on that one. All right, so let's go to the next one here. This one is interesting. Let's see here. This one says, your oldest sister, a respected elder, witnesses your spouse scolding your 5-year-old child. She immediately interrupts your spouse in a sharp tone, saying, that is not how we talk to children in this family. You're too harsh. What is your immediate reaction to that? How would you react to that? I'll wait. Let me give myself 60 seconds here. Let's do 60 seconds timer, so I can give you guys time to think. Yay. All right, good. So your older sister, a respected elder, witnesses your spouse scolding your 5-year-old child. She immediately interrupts your spouse in a sharp tone, saying, that is not how we talk to children in this family. You're too harsh. What would be your immediate reaction? Let's see here. We no get answer. Let me see the options. Let's pull up the options. All right, good. A, quietly pull your spouse aside and apologize for your sister's outburst. B, say to your sister in private, Auntie, thank you for your concern, but my wife and I undo our children's discipline. That's B. Now let's go to C. Intervene instantly, standing beside your spouse and saying, we've got this, sis. Please respect our method. D, say nothing in the moment to avoid disrespecting your sister and talk to your spouse later. All right. I'll wait another 60 seconds and then let me know what your choices are. Hey, participate. I'll give you 60 seconds to think it through. It's a good exercise because these things, they happen in real life and they create drama. Sometimes the resentment that are born out of this type of events will not manifest. Well, they manifest over a period of time, and then you don't really know where the source is. So sometimes 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years later, you're like, they've been resenting you, but you have no idea where the resentment came from. You don't know what you did wrong. But to you, the only thing you can interpret is that they're evil. And you'll find more than enough people on the internet to join forces with you and say that they're evil. Internet in-laws are not your mates. They will join forces with you. Misery loves company. There's more than enough people going through the same misery, and they will help you interpret the same toxic interpretation. But you go back to your bedroom crying late at night because the problem is still not solved. You still have to be married to that person, to that family, and he still doesn't know what to do when this type of issues happen. Yeah. So let's go through it together. Let me see here. She said double wala. That means she has no answer. A, quietly pull spouse aside and apologize for your sister's outburst. That's actually a type of avoidance. Quietly pull your spouse aside. A is quietly pull your spouse aside and apologize for your sister's outburst. That's avoidance, and that's not always the best way to go about it. Okay. I wouldn't just, because that's something that's happening in that moment in time, and your spouse has been quite obviously they're embarrassed by your sister, and then that's an opportunity to establish some kind of boundary, and avoiding that, I don't think that's a good idea, and you can respectfully say something in that moment. B says, say to your sister in private, Auntie, thank you for your concern, but my wife and I undo our children's discipline. What do you think about B? Mara says, it is important to be seen to support the partner publicly because of my own experience. I agree 100%. Very, very important, because if they don't see that, they will repeat it. Not only that, they will double down. It will be worse the next time. I know it's your sister, but Betty, it's not about the persons. It's about the dynamic that's being created here, and you don't want it to get worse with time. You want to nip certain things in the bud, and sometimes you have to hurt feelings temporarily, but they will respect you. The most important thing, respect. They will respect you. They will respect your spouse, right? So that option right there, say to your sister in private. The in private part is nah. Okay. I can see from an African standpoint, you want to respect the elder because she's such an elderly sister. Remember, you don't have to disrespect her to give her some sort of to establish a very necessary boundary. You don't have to disrespect her. So if you're a disrespectful person, we can address that on a separately, Then C, intervene instantly, standing beside your spouse and saying, we've got this, sis. Please respect our method. Please respect our method. Let me read D first. D, say nothing in the moment to avoid disrespecting your sister, and talk to your spouse later. No. If you don't say anything in that moment, let me tell you what that's going to look like. That means you're also not saying anything to your wife. That means you're not correcting your wife. As far as she's concerned, she thinks you should correct your wife. So you're not correcting your wife. Guess why she would think you're not correcting your wife? She would think that your wife has bottled you inside a bottle somewhere. Right? And that's why you can't speak, right? So guess what she's going to attempt to do next time? She's going to attempt to save you from your wife. Kind of like the same thing we're doing as in-laws to TUFACE. We're attempting to save TUFACE from Natasha, right? We tried for so long to save him from Annie Dibia. Because apparently she's the girl that didn't like herself, that she was just chasing her, right? Same issues, same difference. So say nothing in the moment to avoid disrespecting your sister, and talk to your spouse later. Your sister will interpret that as like you don't have control yourself. They've taken your brain away. Okay, so she might be quiet in that moment, but she will double down and she will try to defend you in front of your spouse, whereas that wasn't your intentions. To you, as far as you're concerned, you're de-escalating, but with no action, you're also demonstrating that you're not a man. And your sisters, your mothers, well, let me use spouse, right? That you're not capable, that you're not capable of making your own choices, because the same thing will be true if you're a lady too, right? So the C one says intervene instantly, standing beside your spouse and saying, "We've got this, sis. Please respect our method." Please respect our method. Make me feel, but no, we got this. No, we got this. Thanks. I would say we got this. I would just say thanks. But I think that would be loud enough to say, "Oh wow, yeah, we got this. She got this." I would even go as far as I would say, "We got this, sis. Actually, she got this. Don't worry about it." I would say that. And if my sister knows me enough, they know the body language. They will probably leave that shit alone. All right. So yes, you don't want to. Let me see here. Yeah, you don't want to lose on both ends. You want to win, and you want everybody to win long term. Even if somebody feels like a loser in the short term, like immediately, you feel a little embarrassed because you defended your wife, but you're not disrespectful to your sister, but you kind of like, we got this. Actually, she got this. Sis, leave it alone. You know me? No, I said leave it alone. And she, thank you very much. Okay, Emma Bino, trust me, it will end right there. Okay. The last thing they will do in the future is disrespect your wife. Then they won't try to save you from your wife. And then guess what? They will know that your head is correct. Right? Because you're not just like, you're not defending her, you're just saying, "We got this. She got this, leave her alone. She got that." That sounds like a man taking their stance. And if you're a lady, it sounds like you're in good hands. Like they can trust that you're in good hands. If you put up a united front like that, the last thing they will ever want to do, but they don't want to offend you in that way. They don't want to be embarrassed in the future again. So they leave you guys alone. All right, let's move on to the next one. How much time we got? Okay, all right, we got some time. Let's go to, okay, I got another one here. All right, let's see. Let's do this one. Shout out to Marriott. Marriott, all by yourself. You're enjoying this one, eh? Let's see. Your younger brother, without asking you or your spouse, calls and says he will be staying. Sorry, let me put it up. Sorry about that. Your younger brother, without asking you or your spouse, calls and says he will be staying for 2 weeks because he needs to handle business in your city. Your spouse has a major work deadline that week and is stressed. How do you address your brother? What do you say to your brother? Your brother, your blood. Your younger brother, without asking you or your spouse. Let's take the spouse out, right? Calls and says he will be staying for 2 weeks. Just like that. Like, I'm on my way. He calls and says he will be staying for 2 weeks because he needs to handle business in your city. Your spouse has a major work deadline that week and is stressed. How do you address your brother? All right, so let's give that about 30 seconds. Then I'll give you some options. Let's see here. All right, so here we go. All right, let's go through the options. A, let him come. Apologize to your spouse and hope she manages. B, call your brother and say, that timing doesn't work for us right now, but you can come next month. B. C, tell him you're welcome, but you must find a hotel because we need our space for work. African people, like, just like that. D, ask your spouse, is this okay? And then pass her decision back to your brother. Let me repeat that again. Let me go through it again. A, let him come, apologize to your spouse, and hope she manages. B, call your brother and say, that timing doesn't work for us right now, but you can come next month. C, tell him you are welcome, but you must find a hotel because we need our space for work. D, ask your spouse, is this okay? And then pass our decision back to your brother. What y'all say? What y'all say? Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think? Let me talk to Marriott, my Marriott diary. Marriott, what do you think? What do you think about this? A, B, C, or D? A, B, C, or D. If you're watching this later on, leave your answers, but don't just leave A, B, C, D in the comment for me. I don't know what you're saying, A or B or want to. Spell it out. Spell it out in the comments, because I'm interested in know what your answers are. Yeah. All right. So your younger brother, without asking you or your spouse, let's just say without asking you, he calls, I'm on my way, bruh. I'm on my way, sis. I'm gonna be staying with you for 2 weeks. We're not talking about 1960, but in 1960, they face me, I face you. They will sleep on the pavement. Worst case scenario, they sleep in another room somewhere. Wait, Maya says, get a hotel. If the partner what? Get a hotel if the partner does what? Let me see. Let's go through it together. So, how do you address your brother? A, let him come, apologize to your spouse, and hope she manages. That's going to backfire. You do enough of that, you'll be on the divorce court in no time. Why don't you just correct this woman? No. It could be any side, okay? You don't want to just be welcoming anybody in your family randomly and hoping that your spouse will manage. It will bite you in the butt later on. So let's just eliminate A, okay? All right. B, call your brother and say that timing doesn't work for us right now, but you can come next month. Well, brother is saying he's coming to handle business. There's a good chance he's already scheduled this. I'm hoping your brother is, if they're coming to handle business, they're making enough money from their business for some options, I wouldn't say next month because that's kind of like diminishing, like he doesn't have stuff to do, I don't think it's that deep because I'm never going to the extreme where you can't have your brother. I'm never going to that. That's extreme too, that's extreme. But some brothers are mad. Maybe they've misbehaved in the past to your spouse and your spouse doesn't already like them, or they always come and they cause troubles. Then that creates additional layer of issues that you have to walk through, right? But let's leave that alone for a second. C, tell him you're welcome, but you must find a hotel because we need our space for work. B and C fall in the same category. It's kind of like, is it that deep? I can't stay with you, my bro. You didn't even ask me if I can afford a hotel. Why not? So that also comes off a little bit as extreme to me. And I know overly woke people will enjoy that. Yes, so go away. Please don't come to my house. Well, this could be anybody. It could be you in the future. So be careful when you say this kind of stuff or you're overly woke. Mara says D, offer hotel if partner says no. You're doing joint now. You're asking partner first. You're doing D and C basically. This has happened with a friend who flew to my country. It was a straight no. Yeah, friends is like, nah, bro. There must be some kind of agreement at least for a friend. Sibling is different. You say no and offer to split hotel costs. Okay, that may be if it's an issue, especially if they are problematic in the past. But if they're not problematic in the past, okay, if you're not predicting that this person is coming to cause trouble in your family in the next 2 weeks, if it's just a sibling, like good old surface level, the way I asked the question, right? Then I'm really leaning towards D as well. Yeah, ask your spouse, of course, But when you're asking your spouse, ideally, I kind of know the answer that my spouse is going to give already. Usually, this is a person that my spouse is fond of too. They like them. Ideally, like this is my sibling, but like I tell you right now, my brother is coming over. That's a easy, like, let's say for some reason he has to stay in my guest room. That's not, I know what the automatic answer for my sister is. My wife is. That doesn't mean I'm just going to now override it. It might be a situation where I'm already assuming that she's going to say yes anyway. I say, yeah, of course, right? But let's say for some weird reason my wife goes, no, I'm using that room for something. Then it's not a big deal too. I can always go back to my brother and say, you know what? I didn't ask my wife for. She actually wanted to use. Then I will go with the option that you gave, Marriott. I'm like, you know what? I'll split your hotel cost with you. Sorry about that. I just don't have the space. And guess what? My brother is that understanding guy. Like, of course, not an issue. Like, no, don't worry about the hotel. That's the kind of relationship that will be there. I'm presuming that kind of relationship before we're even entertaining the conversation in the first place. If you don't have that kind of relationship with my wife in the first place, they said no. Like, well, what do you mean? You're coming over. The last time you disrespected my wife, you haven't talked about it. Or the last time my wife disrespected you, whatever the issue was, have you addressed it? Oh, you think you can just come? No, we must address that issue first, though. That's how close I am to my siblings, and we will have that conversation before moving any further. But some people will just assume, like, no, it's my house. No, it is not your house. In fact, the fact that you said it's your house makes you dead ass wrong. It's not your house. It's definitely not the house of your sibling. And your wife, your husband is there. You're just going to cause unnecessary drama. Yeah, and by the way, you're a dramatic person if you think that way. And you're part of the problem. No wonder. It is no wonder. So I'm leaning towards ask your spouse before, it doesn't matter, because all of this should be a function of the type of relationship between your partner and your sibling in the first place. It should be a situation where you're assuming your spouse is going to say yes anyway. And if for some reason they say no, it's not a big deal to go back to them to say, but there should be some underlining decent, healthy relationship between your partner and that spouse. If that wasn't existing before, then you're just a dramatic person to assume that wasn't going to create a problem, And I don't care what culture you're coming from. You're just a weirdo if that's how you think. Yeah, but our culture, no, it's not. Culture is not relevant. We're talking about human being relationships. It doesn't matter what culture you're coming from. They teach you that you have to address conflicts, and there are ways that conflicts are addressed. And I don't care if they went to the elders. I don't care if they call people to it. I don't care if they look for perfect. I don't care. There's conflict between human beings. It must be addressed in a certain way with some decorum. And you can't just use duty, responsibility, good character to manipulate people. Okay? If people feel some type of way, they feel some type of way. The key thing here is not necessarily, I said, definitely ask your partner. The key thing is to be on the same page with your partner if you're going to bring people into your home. And guess what? That includes your mother and your father too. But it shouldn't be an issue. Exactly, shouldn't. But sometimes it is. Why don't you focus on making sure you're on the same page with your spouse first before you introduce such situation? If you're not on the same page with your spouse first, then you got a problem. And the problem is not your parents, it's you. And you're being unrealistic. Okay? All right, let's go to, let me see if I can find another good one. Yeah. So yes, we're going to go to D. Ask your spouse, but I'm leaning to not ask your spouse is a little weird, but make sure you're on the same page with your spouse. That's more. Make sure you have a united front with your spouse. If that means, is that okay? Ideally, you should be able to assume that this is probably okay by the time you're asking. You're just doing due diligence by saying, hey, by the way, and a lot of men, somebody told them they were coming over. To them, it's my wife, it's my house. And they said, oh, I forgot, this person is coming over. You're a weirdo. Okay, not weirdo. You're incompetent. Okay, you're incompetent husband if you do stuff like that. Okay. Let's go to, let's do this one. Nice one. All right. Let's see here. All right, this one is about auntie. Let's bring the auntie to the screen. Auntie, your aunt calls and spends 15 minutes complaining about your spouse's Western ways. Your spouse's Western ways. She doesn't cook traditional food enough. So we're talking husband to wife now, okay? You're the man, your auntie calls and complaining about your wife does not cook traditional food enough, doesn't visit often, doesn't call, and concludes with you need to talk to her and fix her. You need to talk sense into her. You respond by saying what? What do you say to your auntie? Let's flip it. I'm trying to look at an example that will fit for you ladies, but let's just focus on how would you advise a man? How would you advise a man to respond to this? To respond to his auntie here. All right, so let me pull up the options. Okay, good. So option A, I hear you, auntie. I will talk to her. Even though you have no plans to talk to her. B, auntie, that is between me and my wife. We are fine. C, you know how women are these days. I'm doing my best. D, we appreciate your care, but our marriage is run by us and she's not changing. That's D. What says you? I'm going to give you 60 seconds to think about this. I'll read it to you again. A, I hear you, auntie. I will talk to her. You're not going to talk to her. You really mean to say, auntie, go away somewhere, right? B, auntie, that is between me and my wife. We're fine. C, you know how women are these days. I'm doing my best. D, we appreciate your care, but our marriage is run by us and she's not changing. What's the best option here? How would you advise your brother to respond to this? To this encroachment of a thing by an auntie? Is this auntie? Aunties don't collect in this life when it comes to in-laws. So what would you say? Let's see here. Okay. So let's walk through it together. All right. So the first option, which is I hear you, auntie, I will talk to her. It's a type of a forced agreement, right? You're kind of complying, but not really. Right? But you're also encouraging that she will continue to bring such a thing, right? So I'm a little bit on the fence about it. You don't want your auntie to feel too comfortable bringing something like that to you. What you want your auntie to feel is a level of loyalty, a level of unity. She should feel it. She should know that you have a united front, and she should have a little bit of fear. Not fear like that, but like, that's his wife. He loves his wife. You want let's spin it positively. You want your wife to know that you love your wife. And there's no questions around that whatsoever. And the last thing you want to do is tamper with that. That's what you want your auntie to feel. B, auntie, that is between me and my wife. We're fine. Okay. That sounds like you're inside a bottle. You don't need to say that to auntie. Okay. That sounds like something that will come from overly woke people. You don't need to, as a matter of fact, I will lean towards A more than B. I hear you, auntie. I will talk to her. I will probably lean towards that more. Okay. So A is actually still in the running. C, you know how women are these days. I'm doing my best. That's some type of subtle disloyalty to your wife. But maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it's a one-off situation, you know how women are these days, kind of like just brush over it. I would change topic. I might use that first bit of that to change topic. You know how women are these days. How are you doing, auntie? Everything okay? C, you know how women are these. Okay. B, we appreciate your care, but our marriage is run by us and she's not changing. That's just unnecessary disrespect to your family. Like, there's no need to say that. I don't know what point you're trying to prove to say that, but it might sound like boundary, like establish a firm and final boundary to auntie. Like, no, you're embarrassing your wife. Even if she's not present, you're embarrassing your wife. I wouldn't say that. So right now, I'm probably leaning more towards A and C. A is like, I hear you, auntie. I'll see about that. Right? If I kind of suspect it's a one-off thing, I might say that. If this auntie is just too much, I'm not even gonna say I hear you, auntie. I was like, what happened? Auntie Efiele, please leave that thing alone. Auntie will also know what I'm talking about because it's not the first time she'll be bringing my wife's issues to me in that manner. Then auntie will realize that I'm taking that personal. I want her to feel that a little bit too. Like, if she's on and she's always bringing stuff like that, I don't want to disrespect her, of course not. But I'm kind of like, I'm going to show a body language like, no, that's how I like it. I might say that's how I like it. You don't like it? Let me like it. Thank you. Thank you. I'll just turn it to some kind of banter or something like that. But I want her to feel and know that I love my wife. We have a united front, and we're not going to entertain such stuff, But I don't need to say too loud. I just need to show it in my body language, You know how women are these days. If it's an auntie that I feel like she's harmless, I can say that and change the topic. Like, so the key thing here is don't make a big deal out of something that's not already a big deal. If you're feeling like it's a big deal, then still be bountiful about it, but establish your stance that there is loyalty, unity between you and your wife, and you like it exactly that way. Okay. All right. So let's do one last one, and then we'll call it a day. Hit the like button. Please, if you're really enjoying this exercise, even if you're quiet behind the scenes, please hit the like button. When you hit the like button, the algorithm will help me spread the word anymore. Just be our destiny helper. Thank you. Okay? Be our destiny helper. Appreciate you. All right, so let's go to this one last one. Okay, this one is mother-in-laws. Mother-in-law. The monster-in-law syndrome. Your mother-in-law calls you a derogatory name in your native language, a clear disrespect during a heated discussion about family matters. She says something crazy like that. You're like, wait, you. A clear disrespect during a heated discussion about family matters. Your spouse is in the room but looking down at their phone. Your best course of action is your spouse is actually right there in the room, but they're looking down in their phone. But as far as you believe, like, you just collect woto from your mother-in-law right there, and she didn't flinch, nothing.
Sorry.
What would be your best course of action? All right, so let's go through the options that we have. A, immediately respond to your mother-in-law. You have no right to talk to me like that. That's A. B, we're talking about your mother-in-law, Momsi Lanso. Momsi, this is Momsi. B, stay silent and wait for your spouse to react. C, stand up, look at your spouse and say clearly, honey, I'm going to step out now. I need your support on this, and leave the room. D, wait until you and your spouse are alone and then share how hurt you are. What says you? What would you go with? Let me read that one more time. Let me read it one more time. A, immediately respond to your mother-in-law. You have no right to talk to me like that. B, stay silent and wait for your spouse to react. C, stand up, look at your spouse and say clearly, honey, baby. Sorry, I wasn't calling you. I'm alive. He said, honey, I'm going to step out now. I need your support on this, and leave the room. D, wait until you and your spouse are alone and then share how hurt you are. I'll give you 60 seconds and then we'll walk through it together. All right. Let's see. Let me look at some other ones here. Maybe you can find one extra one while we're pounding on that. Let's see. It's some really, really good ones here, but we run out of time. Maybe another day. Oh my, this one was really good. Okay, that's a good one. Wow. All right, so let's walk through this together. Let's walk through it together. Let's go back. Let me see. All right, so let's go through the options together, and then let's see. Let me read the question again. Your mother-in-law calls you a derogatory name in your native language, a clear disrespect. During a heated discussion about family matters, your spouse is in the room but looking down at their phone. Your best course of action is to A, immediately respond to your mother-in-law. You have no right to talk to me like that. Well, that's too confrontational. Okay. That's not my style. I wouldn't do that. First of all, I will assume that something has terribly gone wrong with my level of self-respect. Because how did I get here? I'm not blaming myself, but I'm asking like, how did you get here? Like, what do you mean? So I'm not gonna do A. That's too confrontational to my mother-in-law. As part of my self-respect, as part of my dignity, I will maintain the level of respect I accord her just because of her position. And I'm not gonna say that. I won't say that. You have no right to talk to me like that. It's not a matter of right. Clearly, she thinks she has the right. So me arguing with her back and forth on that is probably just going to escalate unnecessarily. Like, my self-respect is key to me. It's very important to me, and I probably won't descend that low. I believe she's low. I'm not coming down to that level. Yeah. B, stay silent and wait for your spouse to react. No, I'm not just going to let that moment slide either. Okay. Yeah, I'm not just gonna let that. So what are you gonna do then? I know. Let's go to C. C, stand up, look at your spouse and say clearly, honey, I'm going to step out and I need your support on this, and leave the room. So some kind of strategy here, some tactful exit from the room, but it's almost like you're forcing your spouse to act too. But I might do a version of this. Some kind of version, not exactly like this, but some kind of version of this, right? Where he's silent. That silence is loud. My body language is loud. I won't necessarily be disrespectful, it's not necessarily a matter of attitude, but let me wait for D. D, wait until you and your spouse are alone and then share how hurt you are. Okay, so it's gonna be a mix of C and D for me. I'll probably like, Mama, is everything okay? Let's say Mama is so mad and Mama is just mad, both types of mad, crazy and mad. And she goes, I'm like, you see that body language says a lot, right? I will step out because I don't want to do something stupid, but it will be clear that, wow, this is where we are right now. Yes. And I will have the discussion with my wife later on. So it's going to be a mix of C and D. The key here is to maintain my level of self-respect because that's all I can control, right? But also, I'm not going to do anything stupid that will escalate because other people are most likely probably watching. And but also, my wife is counting on me to maintain to be a leader in this place. And the way I act right now is also going to determine the rest of our lives together. Not just her, obviously not just her, but with my wife. Yeah, so I'm probably going to maintain a level of self-respect. I'll probably I probably will step out for a second to be clear. You know, I'm not expecting anything too. I'll probably manage my expectations, you know, because for a mother-in-law to act like that, that's probably something that has to do with character. I'm not going to attempt to try to change her. The only thing I can do is look at how I moved. What made her think it's okay to say that to me? You know, I'll look at that, reassess things, and then I'll let my wife do what she thinks is the right thing to do with regards to that. But I'm not going to be demanding anything. Okay. This one is really a function of self-respect. It doesn't mean I did anything to disrespect myself, but I might have missed something. Maybe I got too comfortable. Sometimes you get too comfortable around certain people and they think it's all done and they can just disrespect you, right? Sometimes it's that way too. So I will probably give them the gift of missing me. Yeah. I will remove myself. Yeah. I will respect myself, essentially. You know, no, you should just hold your feet and tell them what it is. Well, if that works for you, please do it. Please keep doing it. Okay. But what has worked for me across dimensions, across the board, in any type of relationship, it works all the time. Self-respect. It works all the time. And I don't like the idea of controlling other adults. I believe other adults should be what, you know, about one word you. You don't have to. You're trying to carry the weight that the universe will carry for you freely, for free. Anyway, that's all I have for today. So as for TUFACE and TUFACE, go to explain.
We go explain because no evidence.
No evidence. TUFACE has lost his sense of self-respect. So of course he's demanding his family to respect his wife. Of course, that wife is going to end up disrespecting him. That's what's going to end up happening. Okay? He's going to do more and more of that. Maybe one day he will wake up, Sha. But I'm telling you right now, if you feel the need to do what he's doing right now, you failed. Okay? Boundaries. But when I say boundaries, I don't mean low tolerance. But it's very nuanced. And that's why I went through the scenario-based exercise. It's very nuanced. It depends. It's not one or the other. It's lots of wisdom necessary. But whatever you do, make sure you're maintaining a sense of self-love, self-respect, because people will copy you. They follow your lead in how they treat you in the long run. It's very important I say in the long run, because some of you will try what I say for 2 weeks and then you'll give up. And they say, it doesn't work. Yeah. Because you're not patient. You need to do this over a period of time. Shout out to Marriott. I appreciate you, Marriott, for stopping by. I appreciate Natu. I appreciate Samuel. Hopefully you've been enlightened. Oh, shout out to Miss Yvette, who left me a comment on the last show. Shout out to all of you who left me a comment on the last show. Hopefully you've been enlightened, educated. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. God bless. Peace.
This is Ola, man of Prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number 1 Red Flag, yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.